Welcome back to the EU LCS, where G2 are looking to secure the win against Ninjas in Pyjamas. Now this time around, NIP have chosen red side. Interesting choice given how successful Blue has been. Yamato said, I think, blue side. I think last time we asked for a prediction, he was like, yeah, so whoever gets blue side, definitely going to win out. And it has, for the most part, remained the case across these matches.
So the reason why blue side is so successful right now is because red side, in most games, are kind of forced to ban the same champions. Zac, Caitlyn, Elise, or Kalista are some of the bans we see like so often around the world on red side, so you're kind of locked in what you can do. But I think what Nico noticed in the first draft was that G2 actually banned Zac. And G2 then first picked the Elise, which I think NIP are fine with. The Elise didn't really do a whole lot against them that they should be afraid of. So I actually think NIP might try and go in and try and copy the draft from last time and say it was an execution error more than it was a drafting error, which I 100% agree with. So in that case, it might make sense. If you once again are going to see Zac banned on blue side, then sure, NIP can actually still take red side because you still get your last picks, which is one of the main reasons red side is strong. So that's still fine for them.
Curious to see exactly what G2 opt for if Elise is left open again. Will they take it, given the arguably poor early game of Trick last time around? Maybe, though, if a few more of those cocoons had connected, it would have been a different story. I
mean, and this kind of thing, right? He wasn't bad. He didn't mess anything up. He just didn't get the value we normally would see from an early Elise pick. So G2 obviously relied on the Gnar and the Jace more than anything. And Mithy's Alistar in these fights here just kind of outplayed NIP because G2 are just a better team. I think Trick had some pressure though, which is worth highlighting, but he definitely wasn't the main reason for G2 winning in that game. NIP though, Caitlyn ban, as we mentioned, Zac ban, normally what we see, but G2 did ban it last time, might be the same in this game, so Ninjas in Pyjamas should just not ban it and try and take that gamble. They can always ban the Zac with the last ban, worst case.
Looks like it'll be the same so far. G2 debating what they want to take away. Last time it was Zac, as mentioned. This time they're taking the Elise away.
So you can just see how G2 also, they just want to play different styles. Now they can play the Zac style instead. First pick Zac, play full on 5-on-5 team fight, where before they clearly wanted to play the 1-3-1 early game focus style.
Nico, Consulting Prophet, talking about what they need to ban. Syndra will be taken off the board, taken away. G2, what are they going to opt for in this first pick? Zac?
Zac is there. You got to take it. Just switch up the styles. It's all G2's doing right now. They're just playing different styles on stage against NIP. Kalista Maokai will still be a perfectly fine draft right here. Cho'gath is something you need to consider as well.
Give up the Alistar. There's a lot, actually, of picks that we would consider very powerful on the current patch, up and available. Surprising to see so many of those tanks let through.
I think the Rakan, though, kind of fills the same purpose right there as the Alistar. So even if you lose Alistar, you can get the Rakan, and it's still fine. So there are a lot of picks right now for NIP. Cho'gath, Maokai, Alistar, all three you might be looking at. Alistar also has a takeaway from Mithy, who was very successful on it in the first game. They do go with the Maokai for now. G2, do they want to play Cho'gath? Yes, they do, because now they're playing tank comp. Last game they did not play tank comp, that's why they left it open.
So this is the mix-up. This is the tank composition coming in, or at least being considered for now. But NIP keeping things consistent. However, that means NIP are going to have to change it up. No Cho'gath for them to round out their first pick phase with. What are G2 going to opt for here?
So Alistar is still there to also deny Alistar Kalista, and you just build yourself a massive wall of meat right in front of a Kalista who needs about 5 minutes in a fight to actually kill these guys.
And to be fair, it's very hard to lock down a Kalista as a lot of these tanks. But if a Zac, a single stretching strike from Zac connects, a single headbutt pulverize, so easy to take out HeaQ.
I think at this point, NIP almost have to just kind of change a little bit and actually try and say we need a strong bot lane, we can snowball. Kalista as a champion is just awful if she's behind. If she's just even in the game, it's rare she deals more damage than the opponent AD carry as well. If she gets ahead though, which is what you can do because you can play around her so effectively, she can just take over the game. That's kind of the value of her. Her rend is fantastic on objectives. I think NIP needs to play around the bottom lane in this game to get HeaQ rolling. Otherwise, he's never going to kill Zac, Cho'gath, Alistar. Because while he's busy doing that, Zven and Perkz are just going to kill the front line of NIP much faster.
You have so much... We don't even know what they're playing yet, Deficio.
They're probably just going to play Varus again. They're just, okay, now they're going to probably play like the Cork more, and then they're going to kill me even faster.
Definitely a tough spot to be in if you're NIP. Opting to take away the Varus, though. Definitely one of the stronger laning picks. Kog'Maw would be quite vulnerable to the early Kalista here, but NIP debating. What do they leave for that last pick? What do they hide? Expect to see the support pick here, but could mix it up.
I mean, I would like support here, and then you can still flex the Maokai to top, depending on what you want to play for potentially Prophet or Sjokz. Support here would make a lot of sense. It seems to be Trundle. Could also again be Trundle top lane against this Cho'gath. And then you can still actually pick. Right now it could be Maokai jungle, Trundle top, and you pick a support. Could be Trundle support, Maokai jungle, or Maokai top. There is definitely a few different options. I think
debating though. Could be the Lucian lock-in here for Perkz in the mid lane. Long time since we've seen that in the AD carry slot. Probably not going to be the choice, but Perkz, big old grin on his face.
He's like, yeah, it's time. It is time. This man single-handedly ruined Lucian's stats in the EU LCS. What? I believe the Lucian seems to be Zven getting to play Lucian instead against Kalista.
Come on, we don't talk about hover-overs, but if we were, things do not look good for Perkz on the Lucian.
We should say it anyway, even if he doesn't play it.
All right, Perkz, looking at the stats. Not quite, I think, what you'd want to see from your mid lane Lucian. 9, 14, and 16, 2 and 3 wins and losses. But it's going to be AD carry Lucian. It's been so long since we've seen this champion in the bottom lane in EU LCS. Leblanc making her home in the mid lane. We know what she's going to be looking to do, but a lot of power on the individual carries here for G2, backed up by some pretty strong meta tanks.
Yeah, and I feel like G2 are actually just valuing safety and mobility, because it is a Trundle support. So if you pick an AD carry with no mobility, there's a pillar appearing behind you, and then an enemy jungler shows up and you're never getting out. Also with the possibility of something like Jarvan getting picked, there's just no way to team fight as a low mobility AD carry against Maokai ulti, Kalista ulti, pillar from a Trundle, Cataclysm, and Shockwave. Like, everything on the side of NIP would kill a low mobility target. So what G2 did, they drafted two of their most mobile targets they could for AD carry and mid lane. Even though Lucian is not the strongest AD carry right now, he does bring a dash to the table and he can peel for himself.
To a certain degree, could be safe in these fights. Something they have to consider. A similar strength to what we see from Kalista with that martial poise, the ability to maneuver around these tanks in the fight, deny so much of their burst combos, punish them for the lack of sustained damage we so often see from a character like Maokai, who is so cooldown reliant. Well, both coaches gonna shake hands. We'll find out shortly if it's going to be the last time. Take this chance now. Head on over to Twitter at LO Esports, hashtag NIP win, hashtag G2 win. Maybe you believe in a support Trundle. Does shred through tanks. Worth considering.
One of the tanks stack a lot of HP though, which it still works against.
Still scaling HP.
There's some there, but not going to take all the stats in the world to himself.
Time to find out. The crowd in an uproar. NIP versus G2. And this is it, folks. This is game 2. Do or die for NIP. For G2, we'll have to see. Will they give up another Baron? Will they make those small mistakes? Or is this going to be the clean closeout for G2 Esports?
Yeah, if NIP lose this game, then they can't afford to lose any more games if they want to try and catch Rocket. They would also rely on Rocket losing every single game they have left in the EU LCS. So, not very likely, of course, that these NIP guys are going to avoid that promotion tournament, but they are still showing some good drafts right here. I feel like I actually like this one as well. Jungle Jarvan coming back in, something we've seen quite a lot in other regions. Cinderhulk Jarvan being quite successful.
Interesting what we can see across the map. Sprattel and HeaQ checking out what's going to come through on the level 1. Now, Trundle support, not something that we've seen as much here in EU LCS, but we do see the power of the pillar right there. It does make it very difficult to maneuver.
And there was a small thing, a lot of people might have missed it in the patch notes, that actually hurt Trundle support quite a bit. His pillar no longer gives vision when you use it in brushes. And that actually sucks, because one of the cool things about him was you had a lot of cooldown reduction. You could use that to kind of face check. No longer as effective for that. Apart from that, though, Trundle support, a lot of what he likes to do is sit in the lane, look scary, not really do anything, get out of laning phase, and then you got a point on click on that big fat tank.
Thing that people don't appreciate. Oh, look, it's a Trundle with the Sightstone. Oh, look, he just stole 30% of my tank's stats. Suddenly that Trundle has the equivalent of 10,000 gold, buying absolutely nothing. 10,000 is a random number, don't take that seriously, but a lot of gold for free.
And also, the pillar is insanely strong in fights. It's a lot of like CC coming just from being just around the pillar in terms of the slope, but also like blocking someone from actually moving around. Imagine you are a tank on the front line who wants to soak up damage so your backline can deal damage, and then you want to just kite in and out as this tank, and suddenly a pillar shows up behind you, you can't actually get out again, and you just get singled down by the NIP carries. That is what happens in fights against Trundle. And it's something we want to follow with sprattel in this game here. Both teams have agreed, pick a lot of tanks, fight each other. G2 running a little bit more.
We haven't gotten to the fight each other part, we can assume it's there, but for now, Deficio, we're just in this laning phase, and the Trundle and the Kalista taking control, waiting for Zven to get a few more levels, kind of spell reliant here in the early game, but we saw there briefly on the top side. Prophet, yes, he's getting the better end of farming, but definitely suffering. The Vorpal Spike, such an effective trading tool, and very often we see Cho'gath paired against something like a Gnar, something that can pressure it out, that can be safe, but that is definitely not the case for this Maokai.
No, 100% a free lane for Expect up in the top lane. Maokai really is one of the weakest laners specifically, but again, it's not why you pick him. It is purely for these team fights and the zone control of his ulti. So that's kind of the thing, again, about this matter is some pick and ban phases have very little focus on actual laning phase picks. Like, ooh, I want to counter pick this lane so I can win the lane. Doesn't always happen with the tanks. Oftentimes you actually pick for the composition instead, especially with supports. You can see Mithy and sprattel here picking two supports that don't dominate their lane. Like, you don't pick these guys to make the big plays early game. You pick these guys like the Alistar and the Trundle because you want to be so valuable in late game fights. And that's why in the bot lane you might not see a lot of action happen because none of them are really looking for it.
And we look across the map, action really going to come down to the junglers where they're going to put their attention. Trick, of course, having not the most impactful game in game one on that Elise. Now this champion, Zach, hasn't been the best for him in the past, but he is looking to make an impact in the mid lane. Leaps forward, stretching strikes, going to connect to a minion. Kiss, and maybe going to be the takedown here. First blood for Trick, right as I say it. Yeah. He comes in clutch.
Nagne did not flash away instantly, and then you see the chain CC getting put down. No cleanse from Nagne to get out of anything either, meaning that Trick and Perkz together, just combining chains, the smack together with the Q from Trick. And then suddenly, you have a dead mid laner who didn't even get to use his flash.
Terrifying spot for the Orianna to be, too, because we normally expect her to go safe, but now we look at the bottom side, you can see the pillar kind of playing hell with how Zven wants to position.
So basically, I think the only way out for Nagne right now is if he kind of expects this one and he flashes as soon as he sees the jump in. He doesn't flash, he actually uses his E instead, buffers that one up so he can try and get himself a shield. And then there's really no way out, and he knows. It's one of those moments where you're like, why didn't I just flash? I knew it as soon as it hits me.
I'm talking to LCS pros, it's one of those moments where like, why didn't we ban Zach?
That might be another one.
Because that's the awkward situation. The second that stretching strikes connects, you are pretty much doomed.
Especially because G2 banned the Elise. NIP had the last ban in that first phase. They could have just said, okay, clearly you're changing your style away from the early game right now. As you can see here in these trading patterns in the bottom lane, Trundle does nothing against Lucian because it's really easy for Lucian with a dash to just kind of ignore the pillar. And it just means that sprattel is not really helping his AD carry.
No, but you can see he is at least mitigating the impact that Mithy brings to the table, and for now, HeaQ is winning the 1v1 trades, and additionally, both these supports with a lot of hidden sustain in their kit.
Yeah, and then there's Relic shields, and there's Alistar heals, so no one should drop low enough for them to suddenly die out of nowhere, and you see a fight.
He's going to get interrupted. Sprattel running in on Zven, dishing out what damage he can. Will get stunned up by the Alistar.
Ooh, HeaQ right there, not trusting sprattel at all, just flashing away, because Mithy had a stun lined up, but Zven was stuck really far away from the actual fight, and sprattel still had exhaust ready. HeaQ definitely did not have to flash away, but I think he just wants to try and play it safe as possible, and ends up using a summoner spell.
Now moving forward, Chains it's just, there's nothing you can do. My God, Leblanc paired with Zach. I can't even say anything about that. It's beautiful and also horrifying.
It is, and this is something that it's kind of fun because European mid laners before Rift Rivals were like, nah, Leblanc is too risky. Yeah, don't really want. She relies on snowballing too much. Don't really want to play her. We saw some of the NA teams at Rift Rivals abuse the European teams with this and just camp mid. G2 Esports are doing exactly the same in this game. They're playing around Perkz, obviously punishing Nagne twice now. Almost double the CS for Perkz at level 6. Massive advantage.
And I like this adaptation of Deficio because earlier when we saw the Cassio matchup, Nagne was doing incredibly well against Perkz. Cassio versus Jace for the vast majority of the early game. G2 now adapting as we come into game 2. Shutting down that mid lane, not giving Nagne even a remote chance. 15 CS, 2 assists into the hands of Perkz. The Hextech Revolver just to make it even easier for him to win out on these trades. And this is not something that you come back from in the laning phase. You can see now Nagne, he can't approach that wave. And Perkz is tanking 2 tower shots for free.
I mean, luckily, then Perkz took 2 tower shots right there, and obviously Nagne won the trade, I guess. So, well played. But you walked to the tower.
Maybe a little questionable from the G2 mid laner.
But Perkz is saying he has sustain now. Look at that gun. Right there.
It's not, doesn't give spell.
Oh, that's true. That's actually
It's been like 2 years.
I don't know. I just saw the gun. My brain went there. I should have said instead the corruption
Stop
potion
watching
with
your season 3 VODs, Deficio.
It's definitely been less than 2 years.
Probably true. The Hextech items.
Wait, maybe that is 2 years.
It's only Gunblade.
Yeah, maybe. When did we get Protobelt and stuff?
I don't remember. This is the worst thing. Is if anyone ever asks you historical questions outside of esports teams, I'm like, oh, Syndra was released like, what, 4 years ago now? I assumed last year.
Due to me getting a bit older, my eyes are not the same anymore. I thought it was a Cutlass with some lifesteal Drakos.
Are you also colorblind?
Right there, yes, I am.
Oh, and I'm so sorry, actually.
Don't make fun of me. And then suddenly, it all makes sense what I just said. No mistakes made.
Okay.
No mistakes.
By the way, best production team ever. They have called it in to help me burn you. 6.9 would be the Protobelt changes.
So not 2 years ago.
So not 2 years ago. Added is when Protobelt was added. So that would be the removal of
was that when we changed it? Probably. And again, just unlucky mistake. Spectator bug, I believe. And we're right back into this game, which is more important because look at Trick.
Okay, yes. Now we look across the map.
Look at Trick. He's looking for a play, Drakos, if you can just focus on the game for a moment.
All right, Trick on the bottom side. Sprattel luckily clearing out a bit of vision that could set up the bottom play. Unfortunately, Orianna is so absolutely behind in the mid lane that there's nothing that she can do. She has to sit in that mid lane. She has to just wait, accept that Perkz is going to push her in, and cannot come for these plays.
And it only gets worse because soon Perkz will get more sustain. And he can actually really start taking tower shots. It really gets tough in the mid lane.
Now the fight breaking out, though. Gonna pull him out. Let's bounce. Ooh, combined with the headbutt, but Sjokz trying to make it out. Flash out to safety. Has to burn everything, but will walk away with his life. But maybe not. Perkz leaping forward. Maybe looking for a little bit more exhaust. Not going to be enough. Suddenly, Sprattel's pulled back into the team, but luckily the Fate's Call going to save the day. HeaQ doing what he can to clear the way because he knows there could be a dive on the way. Perkz alive and well. Cooldowns. Mithy is taking up the tower. That's the headbutt. Waiting on the pulverize. Trying to stack it up. Can't get the auto stun. Leaping forward. There's too much CC and IP are being destroyed in this exchange. Profit will save the life of Sprattel, but that is all they're going to get.
More kills here for G2 Esports. Once again, Perkz roaming as well. They want this tower right now. They want some kills too.
Leaping forward, expect trying to find the knockup. Perkz coming over the wall, throwing down the chain. Profit going to leap over the wall, trying to make it out. Knows that only Leblanc is on that side. Now walking away.
Grump?
What?
He was in the fight.
Good escape from Profit.
G2 did not get any follow-up kills right there. Nagne finally
Neither did the Grump.
Neither did the Grump. Could have maybe gotten 1 or 2. Had it been a bit more active.
Luckily, though, this does mean that Nagne has been able to recoup a lot of the CS. Unfortunately, Trick is also here.
Yeah, but so is Profit.
Gonna stick the 2 minions together. Luckily, there's one last minion to tank it up, and Nagne is smart enough not to hit the Zac in midair, so he's just gonna walk away.
Meanwhile, we see Nagne catch up and farm a little bit. We see Profit be behind, of course, in his lane, but he knows he's gonna just get Righteous Glory and then try and be impactful in teamfights later on. Rift Out is started right now. All of G2 are either stuck in a lane or have just gone back to base. So you can see Zven is back towards bottom lane, Mithy is still in base, Cho'gath went back to top lane, meaning NIP will actually secure this Rift Herald.
Good play, gotta say. NIP playing excellently around the back timers. You can hear the crowd excited about that. Expect gets stuck in the wall. Perfect Trundle pillar coming in from Sprattel, but they have to respect the potential for the engage. Trick trying to tie 2 people together. Now Kiss gonna get the chain knock up. The CC coming in, let's bounce right back under that tower. Doesn't even need the shot. My God, G2 are just too far ahead. What is this champion? Double kill. coming in now.
And man, Trig also just played that so well. Great combination from him. Zven gets a bot lane tower.
Well, don't forget Mithy, man. Following it up with the headbutt pole, immediately lets bouncing him back.
It's true.
It feels pretty good when an opponent can't actually push buttons. Let's see. Let's count the amount of time where people can actually push buttons once the Zac comes in.
NIP gets that Rift Herald, and then they're like, we should make more plays. Trick comes in, Trick goes out, fight in mid.
Wait, is this not a replay? I feel like we've seen this before. Nagne, one more. Auto flash. Oh! Not a replay.
He stayed alive.
Nice. Nagne gonna survive. Sjokz maybe not so lucky. All right, I'm really upset about Zac right now.
Zac is just really good at this, you know, jumping in people's faces and kill them. Expect, once his top lane tower, he's 2 levels above Prophet, and I do believe this game here, 12 minutes, is pretty one-sided, pretty heavily in favor of G2 Esports.
And this is sort of what we expected coming into the series. We expected dominant performances from G2. They tried the 1-3-1 in game 1, but maybe after the Baron, NIP fighting back a little bit, they just decided to you're pointing at the build water. Say it, Deficio.
Look at that sustain from Perkz right there.
That is sustain. I can't take that one away from you.
It's back, baby.
Well, Rift Herald coming in as well. NIP, this might be their one boom. Sjokz spamming laugh.
Great use here to avoid the perfect game.
There you go. Now we look at G2, we look at the standings, we have to remind ourselves this match is actually very important for G2. They are in a neck-and-neck race with the Misfits. NIP on the opposite side need absolutely every win they can get. So crucial that maybe NIP look to improve some things here. However, after such a brutal early game, you're just not going to get the same chances you got last time. You said boom really loud, but it only had half health. It was like a boom. And you went for the full boom, but I respect it, Mr. Audience Member.
Is POW better than boom?
I don't know.
What is the tier list of
We're
sound
going to need to
effects?
ask the people who made 1960s Batman.
Could be like, POW! That's also kind of cool. Maybe not as cool for Rift Herald. That's more of a boom. A bang.
I mean, I'd pitch it. Anyone? Rift Herald skins? 1960s Batman Rift Herald?
Could be nice. Perkz wants to try and kill Nagne again. Pokes him for now.
Yeah, it's just going to back out. Has to respect the potential for the shockwave there, so going to give him some respect. Gunblade has now come in, so that is
sustain.
Got it. And it's going to make it a lot easier for him to win out on these trades.
See, that's green too. I thought that was the idea.
Ah, yeah, that's fair.
I thought he just had it in 6 minutes.
The 6-minute Gunblade, definitely.
Hey, that happens.
I've seen that one before, for sure.
He's snowballing. Sprattel is doing his job as a support. Even if you are behind in solo queue, guys, you still need to get your deep vision. Sadly, you might not even get to use the wards because the enemy team is playing in your jungle, and then it kind of feels bad. But at least you can say you did your job, which is also important.
Very true. Well, Sjokz is also doing his job, giving blue buff over the mid lane.
He's going to find Cho'gath right there.
This might mean that they're more comfortable forcing a play on the top side. Unfortunately, Perkz dictating the pace of this game as he pressures in on the mid lane.
And as you can see, G2 are kind of busy on the other side of the map, so they don't really care about those wards being placed because they're trying to pressure his top lane tower and maybe roam mid lane and try and dive onto Nagne without that flash. Trig at least is still in there. Perkz is being annoying.
Looking forward, Nagne taking so much damage. There's just nothing you can do against Leblanc that fed. It's unfortunate, but it is the case. Nagne with no flash, no heal means that one combo combined with that Gunblade is just more than enough to seal his fate.
Prophet wanted to be the hero, TB straight into the mid lane as soon as the fight broke out, and then it means top lane tower is gone. Everything is just dying left and right.
If you watch this game, Sjokz is going to kiss the Raptor. Not what he wanted. Will not get pulled out, though. Pillar actually going to save him. Well played, sprattel.
See, I like this because G2 makes some really cool plays, and then there will always be a play just in between where they miss everything. We saw one in the bottom lane before where the Gromp joined the action, no one died. This one, the pull there from Trig actually knocked Sjokz out of the chain from Perkz, so it didn't land. And then Trig ends up using his ulti to get just the Raptor out. So it's good. They're kind of like having good fights and great and bad fights.
Well, Dissonance going to come in. So do the kitty cats. Look at them run. Now Zven's just going to trick. That was rude. Zven now in trouble. Actually could maybe go down here. Will get deleted immediately by the tank lineup on the side of NIP. But they may not have enough damage to keep this fight going. Perkz trying to find a chance up against the team, but How has to run for his life. Sprattel is fearless on the front lines, taking those tanky stats away. Oh, Jarvan, that's the shutdown. You may not win the 1v1, but Leblanc still can't take everybody down.
Zven was playing such a safe game, just farming, doing nothing, not joining any fights, and then suddenly he sees his jungler, a fed, tanky Zac, leave him to the cats. He gets rooted, 5 stars, like, so this is obviously a trick zoning them off the tower, but because they all end up kind of diving and taking some damage, look at this then. Trick right here. Could have just taken it for his guy with his passive up, but he was on the tower, to be fair. Flashed it. Zven did not expect that. Had his own flash ready if needed. He ends up dying, and now it's actually a pretty cool fight from NIP. Making the call that they can still chase down Perkz, and all the damage is gone, because it's Alistar, Zac, and Cho'gath. So they just all dive on to Perkz to get the shot down. Sadly for them, it's not on main carries, but they still, of course, spread a lot of the gold between each other, so worth it in the end.
Look at the last fight. You know, damage and teamfight graphs are weird to read in the tank meta, but you can see that Cho'gath and Zac making their impact to a certain degree. Perkz, no surprises there, but Zven didn't get to participate in that team fight the way that he wanted to. Partially due to tricks, so we're going to have to hope in the future either Zven will be a little bit more willing to burn the flash, but on the side of NIP, they're happy to have that small win. It's not going to give them a lead. It's not going to put them back in the game, but it will relieve the pressure. It will give them another chance to find a similar play.
They need a lot of those plays, as you just highlighted right there. Need to see G2 be over-aggressive as well. This is the kind of game where G2 Esports normally in Europe never really drop the ball. Like, they are so good at consistently close out games. It's always been one of the main strengths of the team. As soon as they got Mithy and Zven on the lineup, of course, very vocal members, a lot of experience, played that macro game for many years back on Origin as well. So it is rare we see them kind of completely drop the ball, but Perkz right now wants to keep trading, and these are the kind of moves that NIP are kind of looking for, where G2 are jumping in under the tower and hope that someone makes a mistake, maybe gets caught by a pillar, maybe they get instantly CC'd by someone, and they might just get, you know, poked down.
Perkz just continuing to be a nuisance. Has taken almost 0 damage over the course of tower diving twice now. Just leaping out before he can take any real damage. 1 tower shot going to be mitigated by the sustain he has on the itemization. Nagne has to be miserable, but Perkz could put himself in a hard spot here. He's going to leap forward. Ulti will come out. Prophet now may have overcommitted. Both sides going to back off. No one going to grab much of anything, but Sjokz ultimate has been burned.
So we got the Rift Herald, sorry, the Infernal Drake being alive. Same thing. Again, you can see old vision of mine. Getting worse and worse. Might get another fight though, because NIP are not going to give this one up for free. They definitely want to try and get back in the game.
We saw last game how important the fights around objectives were for NIP. They have still a very strong team fighting composition and want to utilize the objective control this Kalista provides, but in goes Trick. He's going to try to connect together. Doesn't look like he's going to get the opportunity, but it's expect on the backside. May look to eat. The mid laner is going to get him down in the end. Suddenly the Maokai is looking for the disengage. He's pulling back. The Kalista's still alive, still dishing out damage, but Trick is going to just knock these tanks together. Zven is dishing out the damage. Perkz is moving forward. The Leblanc looking to cut through the last bits of resistance on the side of NIP. HeaQ running for his life, but it's just not enough. Perkz is too strong. Prophet is out of time, and that's going to be the fight for G2.
Another great fight here from G2 Esports. They played him so well. Expect coming in from the flank. Great CC setup for him to land that feast onto Nagne. And of course, with this massive goal lead, you should win these fights here. But G2 still managed to execute them very cleanly. Another great fight from Mithy as well on Alistar.
This is actually a tactic. You're delaying his respawn timer so that they'll be desynced and your team can actually take Baron uncontested.
Oh, I think Perkz also wanted to kill him with the gunblade, but it wasn't ready. It's ready now.
Stop gun violence, folks.
If you just waited 5 more seconds. Let's see it again here. So, massive goal advantage. G2 wants to take this fight. Trick goes in, and while he doesn't land anything on the first engage, look at how expect while he gets CC'd, then Mithy follows up on their Orianna, meaning that the Cho'gath will eventually get in range to just use his feast and actually just pump it down. Zven on the mobile AD carry trying to get him to do something, and then Mithy sneaks around once again. Another great knockup from him. This Alistar is clean, and NIP will lose the fight. And I actually think I spotted a Titanic Hydra on the way.
You did?
From Expect.
You definitely did. Jarvan's Fist and the Tiamat.
Yeah, obviously again, the active of Titanic Hydra with that extra bonus damage coming in, also based on your HP.
And Cho'gath gets a lot of HP. That feels like synergy.
It is pretty damn strong with the Titanic Hydra. And the fact that also you get bigger and bigger as Cho'gath. So at some point, it's almost impossible if you try to stand there and start spamming auto attacks away. And then what you can also do with Titanic Hydra is it's obviously used as an auto reset. So you can actually use your auto, use your E, and then use Titanic Hydra right after. And then you can auto right after again, while the Titanic Hydra active comes in.
Something definitely to consider. Titanic Hydra, a very strong item, does give that extra health scaling. Very good.
Point is, within a very short amount of time, you can get a ton of damage.
Definitely. If you look at the burst combo of autoing with the Vorpal Spikes, the Titanic Hydra coming in, not only that, but also what appears to be the workings of a Gargoyle Stone Plate, potentially for the Cho'gath as well. He can either auto, Tiamat, auto, and kill you, or he can push R and kill you, which is a pretty terrifying spot to be when you are Nagne or HeaQ.
Yep, exactly. And again, it's just a lot of damage coming in a short amount of time. Let's see the fight. Back. Dead. That's Cho'gath.
Now leaping forward. Trick trying to get the Let's Bounce, not going to connect. Perkz taking a lot of damage in the exchange. G2, no Baron buff to push in any further, but definitely still getting the better end of all of these trades. And Deficio, we look across the teams, we look at the stakes present for both these guys. NIP in a spot where they can't really afford to keep losing games. They can lose this one against G2, but you have to see if they want to force a fight here, maybe start to turn things back. However, 12K gold lead. Probably going to be 13 here in a second, as Perkz is just waiting to one-shot someone, although maybe. Well,
he's Leblanc though, so he wants a little bit of time. It's not as one-shot he has.
There's a Baron happening right now. We missed it because we're watching Perkz try to kill everyone simultaneously. G2 are taking a fight, 3v5, and they may just win it anyway, expect on the front lines. NIP are backing off. They are simply too strong. The Cho'gath, the Leblanc, the Alistar, more than enough. Sprattel going to run. Perkz now on a rampage.
Sjokz actually got in there. Tried to see if he can steal it. Didn't happen though. I guess the last try from him.
14K, 14.4. This is probably the final nail in the coffin of NIP, at least for this series. It's a tough spot to be, Deficio, but unfortunately I feel like G2 were just a better team in this series. Game one, we had a bit more back and forth, a much calmer early game, but this time, Perkz taking a page from the book of NA, as you mentioned, but dominating, putting that focus in the mid lane, and it definitely paid off. 0, 4, and 2 for Nagne.
It's always funny also with Perkz because he has these moments where he suddenly wants to play Leblanc again. The guy was like so famous for this. Like he played so many assassins in his first split in the LCS, and it was all about Trick and Perkz, like making plays together. And then you see like a moment where the meta shifts away. It's all about the bot lane or the top lane, and Perkz plays all kinds of different champions. And then suddenly, from time to time, he finds his way back on an assassin like Leblanc. Teams up with Trick once again, and they make some of these plays happen where suddenly he has 2 early kills at 6 minutes, and the enemy mid laner is out of the game straight away. Still want to see that Titanic Hydra DPS though from Expect, so they butchered the point a little bit before, but obviously you go in, first auto attack with your Vorpal Spikes, then you use the active of the Titanic Hydra and you auto attack again with, once again, your E active, and you actually deal so much like instant damage from just like these 2 autos and this active from Titanic, all scaling with HP. So the fact you just stack HP is fantastic.
And you also have additional engage from the team. We can see what Trick and Mithy have been doing, being not only a strong front line, but also just insanely consistent in how often they can force the fights in the favor of G2. Baron buff now backing them up means they still need to wait for a creep wave. They are strong, but still can't afford to all-out tower dive an inhibitor in a 5v5, and Perkz now taking up precedence in a side lane.
They probably, I mean, they can try. If you get Expect in range to kill someone really quickly, it probably will work.
Does have the flash up and available.
Yeah, and Mithy can tank the tower, right? And so can Trick. So at this point, I don't think anything will stop G2 except for the Fountain. Never dive the Fountain.
Definitely the case. Zven not going to get caught out again. Luckily has the dash, Relentless Pursuit. Bit more of a relentless escape this time around.
Yeah, this has been the most boring game for Zven ever. He saw that come from NIP and said, you know what, I'm not gonna play this AD carry without any mobility. That just gets like killed by basically everything on the side of NIP.
And to be fair, the one fight where he did not use any of his mobility did die immediately.
Yeah, he did die. So his job has been actually just wave clear, push towers all game long.
Oh, HeaQ pulled in. Maokai going in on the side. That's the Cho'gath one shot. There is no escaping it, folks. G2, they're looking for the dive. They're taking him down. Does not matter what stands in their way. The gold lead is simply too large. He's diving in on the fountain, but unfortunately, this is as expected. Perkz is going to make it out. Does leap right back in, though. The chain CC is clean on the side of G2. Already ripped through the vast majority of the lineup. Prophet and sprattel probably not enough to hold on here, but they may look for the 2v1 against the Cho'gath. Sadly, this is a little bit Cho'gath favored right now.
Definitely heavily Cho'gath favored.
Look at the grin on Perkz' face, man. That is a man who knows he has won the game and is happy to take risks, like diving into the fountain. But HeaQ is here. However, probably not going to be enough. Whatever happens right now, G2 having a little bit of fun. No chance for NIP to come back.
You gotta get the KDAs up and running. You gotta get some fantasy points as well. Expects Feast is soon ready. Will he get another one?
Lead forward, looking for a little bit more. But G2 taking their sweet time. Style points coming in to close it out at the end of the day, folks. That is going to be the series. G2 Esports decidedly taking down Ninjas in Pyjamas.
So everyone was looking at this game and saying G2 Esports, they're looking back in form. Maybe not MSI level yet, but they're definitely getting up there. They're running, you know, chasing for that first place. They want to keep Misfits behind them. They want to catch Fnatic. So them obviously taking down NIP 2-0 is not a massive surprise. I think in Game 2 they can be very happy with how they did it. Game 1 they were clearly testing as well, and that's what we saw. One game running early, Game 1, 3-1. Next game pick a ton of tanks who can also hard engage. And two different styles from G2 executed. And they win the series.
Yeah, very solid performance, exactly what we expected from G2 in so many ways. And from NIP, we've mentioned this before, bottom of the standings, fighting to stay out of relegation. It's do or die now. They need to win every single match ahead of them. They need Broadcat to lose. And that's a tough spot to be when your fate is not entirely in your hands. But for G2, continuing to climb up the standings, looking to contest Fnatic.
When is that?
That would be August 12th, folks.
Week 10 on the Saturday game we're looking at. But honestly, expect getting his Titanic Hydra Cho'gath. Glad to see it. One of the things about Cho'gath that is so obnoxious is that he's as tanky as the other tanks, if not even more because of Feast. And again, he deals damage. Like, Maokai deals no damage to you, so it's fine. You can stand against the Maokai. It's kind of like, you're not killing me. The Cho'gath will kill you, and you can't kill him. So they got him and Zach. Like, most of the time people would look at that and be like, no, 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 no. That should never happen.
No,
but
sir, please, I'll have a different pick, man.
NIP, because of Game 1, they probably didn't expect G2 to just switch up the style and run the Zach and the Cho'gath. Because it was Zach being banned in Game 1 by G2, and they gave Cho'gath over to NIP as well. And I think that just caught NIP a bit.
And we have to say, I mean, for G2, this is exactly what they wanted to have. We are right now setting up for a Mithy interview.
And you can see how sad Zven is that he had to play Lucian in this game and just kill towers and nothing else. Like, it was
Zven,
a rough game for him. He's so sad. He wanted to play hyper carry. He couldn't get to play it. We even follow him around now to see where he's going. Nope. Don't want to follow him anymore.
Trying to figure out if he's sad.
He was. I saw it on his face.
I think he was smiling, but I'll take it as sad.
It was a fake smile at the end.
I mean, it was just a solid game for G2. Perkz dominating that lane, buys sustain early, works out for him quite well, we have to say.
Did get that gunblade, as you highlighted. I don't remember what else was said around the 6-minute mark.
Who knows? Who knows?
I mean, come on, we can't keep changing items. How am I going to keep up?
I mean, you know that the tank meta is almost entirely because a bunch of items were changed, right?
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that happens as a caster. Sometimes your brain just forgets for a moment, and then you say something, and you're like, wait a minute.
I mean, I definitely said that. Zven died for First Blood last game, but he did not. It was HeaQ. Now, player of the series, though, from this one man who's not afraid to abuse those new items. Eventually, Deficio will learn that they do. But for now, all he needs to know is that they do a ton of damage, and they make players like Expect look good. 12, 1, and 13, that KDA. Impressive performances on the Gnar and the Cho'gath. Definitely dominating his lane against Prophet in both of our games.
Yeah, definitely a good thing for Expect. We are in this meta right now, because he can also play the Bruisers. We know he can play, you know, Gnar, Jarvan, Renekton, all these kind of different champions. So flexible player at the moment. Honestly, a series where you could look at any player on G2 and say, oh, this guy did pretty well. You know, maybe you should get it. But I think Expect is getting better and better, and that's important because he was one of the guys at MSI who, towards the end, actually started looking really good together with Trick, if you look at playoffs, and allowed G2 to perform well against the top teams, and they need Trick and Expect to do well.
Definitely was the case. Well, G2 took down NIP in this matchup. Let's see what Mithy has to say after that win.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I'm joined by Mithy. So first off, congratulations. You got yourself the 2-0, and it seemed like a very clean series overall for G2. Did you come in today like prepping something that you wanted to specifically work on for the team, or was it just generally, we're going to smash them?
I think NIP is a low-tier team right now, so we didn't really expect to lose to them. We mostly focused this week on understanding our champion priorities for the new patch and like trying new stuff out, and not just. We were basically having some issues when we got like the Braum, Sejuani, Kalista bans, because that's all we were playing in scrims. So we kind of like tried to learn new champs, new priorities, and just figure out the meta a bit more.
Oh, understandable. And even if like in game 1 you had some early game priority, didn't quite pan out as much, you managed to pick it back up in game 2. Now, it seemed like not just your series, but even the one before it, were a lot slower than what we expected coming into patch 7.14 last week. Why do you think the games have been so much slower to start?
I think there's a big discrepancy in skill between the teams, probably, and that's the reason why one team can just get a lead and snowball it without the other team really contesting for it. So it's slow because you just don't want to make mistakes and you just want to cleanly sweep them off. And I guess if the other team doesn't really force you to make any mistakes, you just play a slow game and win it.
Well, that's fair, but I feel like it can get you caught just completely out guard one time, because it seemed like you guys in the first game were not expecting NIP to rush down that Baron. What was going through your heads when that happened?
Well, Infernal Drake was up, so we kind of tunneled too much on it. I think we should have probably just kept playing on Baron and used the fact that we have super strong mid game to make them face check. And if they try to put too many resources into face checking, then we can just walk to Infernal and get it for free. So yeah, we got a bit surprised, but yeah, it's fine.
Well, you still ended up taking the win anyways, and I've been a little unfair since you guys had a pretty crushing victory. I want to get your thoughts on some of the things that have been changing down in the bot lane, because you now brought out Alistar twice today, and it seems like that is suiting your style. Is that something that you like about this new meta?
Back then, 2015, I would play the meta that is being played right now. Trundle, Braum, I mean, not really, but like Trundle, Braum, Alistar, Cannon support, these kind of things was what I was playing back then, and that's kind of the meta that's back. But I feel like I'm really good at playing range supports too, so I'm just sad. I mean, I got my ass handed really, really hard at MSI and at Worlds, so I had to teach myself to play range support, so I'm just kind of sad that now the meta is back when I'm pretty sure I can be really good at range supports now. So yeah, now I can just play everything, I think. Well,
that's a good thing, especially with all the new international stuff coming up. So last question for you, Mithy, then. Since you guys have been playing pretty well across the board, the G2 slump is over. What's the next big challenge ahead? Is there anybody else in your group you're worried about, or is it all about that Week 10 showdown with Fnatic?
Not really sure how the standings are, and if we have any chance of taking over Fnatic, or if Misfits has any chance of taking us over. So I think we'll just do our thing and try to get good and understand the meta the best we possibly can for playoffs, and be able to adapt as fast as possible and just be like the old G2 that was always the first to learn the game in Europe. And that's kind of what gave us the biggest advantage, was the fact that we were just smarter at drafting and smarter at knowing what we wanted to play and how we wanted to play compared to other teams. So we want to be back at that level. And I think at the start of the split, we struggled on that because we just didn't have enough time. But I think now we've been able to catch up, and now we're probably just going to like go past the other teams. It's pretty likely.
All right, well, we'll see how you guys do coming into playoffs. Thank you very much, Mithy, and congratulations on your win.
Thanks.
All right, with that, we're going to send it over to Sjokz to wrap up the day. Let's take it away.
Thank you very much, Pyra. And I am super happy to welcome Luka Perkovic to the desk. It's been a while since you've been on the desk, so
Hello.
welcome. Yeah,
Thank
congratulations. Good series overall. We were talking a lot about the tank meta and what's it like for the top laners or junglers or the bottom lane, but what's it like for mid laners? Did anything really change for you?
Well, it did change a bit. Like the main champions like Syndra, Talia, Orianna, mages most likely, are still in the meta. I mean, have been in the meta before tank meta has come here too, because they're just strong lane and have strong teamfight presence. But before you could actually pull out assassins like more frequently, like I was playing stuff like Echo and Fizz and even Zed and stuff like that. But now when there is tanks, those champs are really inefficient, so you can never basically pull them out again. So basically you have to just play all the mages and find a maybe new mage pick, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Jace is quite okay too. Like Jace and Lucian are okay for AD picks. But as of assassins, you can't predict the assassins.
Not really assassins.
LeBlanc worked out now, but I don't think LeBlanc is still like so strong in this meta. It's kind of like a risky pick, so it's very often banned instead of like picked, you know.
Well, Vedius was mentioning that you just need to put resources into Leblanc. You can't just pick
it's
it.
one of those ones that we saw NA make work really well at Rift Rivals, where they just kept ganking mid to the point at which they even sent their support mid lane multiple times to make sure that LeBlanc got ahead. And that was part of the reason why we thought European mid lanes were picking her up, because you can see that you can do well with her, but I feel like EU teams have also just gotten better at being able to play around that kind of, because this is the second time now that you've done that, where you had it earlier on in the split after Rift Rivals, and we had a level 2 Sejuani gank mid, and then after that, like, Perkz just went off on LeBlanc. So you can do it, you just need the investment.
Well, Perkz did it in this series, and you guys closed it out 2-0. Meta-wise, we were talking to Mithy, and he said, well, I think we're back in our flow in terms of catching up to the meta really quickly. Obviously, the big question is, the meta isn't going to stay the same. 7-15 is around the corner, which also a lot of champion changes. So how confident do you feel that you've learned from kind of the slump to be better adaptive to metas in the future?
Well, I can adapt to any meta. It's not really a problem for me. I personally like to play every meta, like just so it's like so there's some difference, because if you play only mages for 1 year, it's kind of boring.
Yeah.
But this year it's been like a lot of changes actually, like from supporting mid laners to mages to assassins to mages. So it's been quite a ride for mid lane. Maybe now it's like a bit stale, if you could say so, but I don't mind so much. Yeah.
But one of the things that I feel like we here in Europe have always said about G2 is that they have been slow to adapt to metas. So can you give like your 2 cents on why you think this perception exists for G2, and why we think that you can't pick up these new picks or new strategies as quickly as others?
I don't know why that perception exists. I didn't even know that existed, honestly. It's just been now first time ever, I think, after MSI, because we didn't have time to play as a team on a new patch, and other teams were bootcamping for 3 weeks before the split, and we didn't even have time off, so there was mental burnout, and new patch and everything combined caused us to be in a slump, let's say, the first 5 weeks and revivals. But as soon as you like actually start talking about meta and preparing and having more team talks and working really hard, I think we are on top of the game and just know like what to do.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was with the G2 member a couple of weeks ago already. I was saying that also just in scrims that it just feels better. You guys are having fun again in scrims, and you're having fun again in the games, which I think is something when you lose it is very difficult to get back. So we think of G2 in terms of before Rift Rivals and after Rift Rivals. So would you say that was really the wake-up call that needed to push you over kind of the little bit more to get back on the horse?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think we would have gotten back on the horse even if there wasn't for Rift Rivals. Maybe it would take us a week longer because it was already like exploding what we had. Not exploding, but everyone could feel it. So we were gonna have a talk regardless, and it's just good that it happened for us because, and Rift Rivals was also good because we got best round practice. Yeah. So it's better to go 1-5 now than in the World, right?
That's true. The NA teams didn't get any good practice, but damn well if G2 turned it all around. Well, a couple of teams also in cross-group play have surprised us. Today was, again, coming back into the normal groups, and Vitality went up against the Mysterious Monkeys. Dominant 2-0 victory. Vitality and NM both had done good things in cross-group play, but I have to say I was quite impressed with Vitality today, how they closed it out, even though that playoff spot is mathematically very far away. This is something for them to be proud of.
Yes, they seem to be drafting really nice compositions. I love the fact that rather than going for more of the full-on tank meta, we actually saw in Game 1 a really interesting disengage meta where they demonstrated it's still possible to play things like the 1-3-1, and they also demonstrated that they can also team fight as well. So Vitality at least demonstrating an element of versatility. Still feel like they're just a little bit slow in terms of their proactivity in the early game.
I just want to see Vitality actually stepping up their game versus top-tier teams, because I think they have obviously now shown us that they are just like a middle pack. I don't know, they are right beneath the top teams and obviously better than all the bottom teams because they've actually, I think, 2-0'd area of the bottom tier team. So they are actually a pretty decent team. Just something is lacking for them to pick it up versus better teams. Like they played only Fnatic and us, I think, and Fnatic stomped them, and we lost one game and then we turned it back. But I think maybe they can put up a good showing versus Unicorns and other
Well,
teams.
they do have a very tough schedule. They have H2K, they have the Unicorns of Love in the next couple of weeks. So when we look at Vitality, obviously we know that the last years even, they haven't been completely up to par, but now it's kind of a new leaf. They have Yamato, he's starting from zero. So do you think they are kind of on track, or should they have been a bit further now?
I think they can be good. I think so, yeah. I really think so. I just don't know if they can. I don't think they can make it in time.
Maybe not in time.
It's one of those things.
It's really too short time.
Yeah. It's one of those things where you have so many expectations for Vitality, but then they never quite meet those expectations. And I think that they're definitely on the right track. We talked a lot to Yamato, and he says that we built in the framework. We effectively had to build from the ground up, and I think that they're going at a steady rate. But as Perkz says,
if we follow the splice rate, then by next split, there'll be a top team at the end of the spring set. So we'll have to track it. Let's take a look at the standings, because Vitality have taken control of the fight for 4th place in Group B. Just one thing, Mysterious Monkeys mathematically cannot get playoffs anymore. I know it's not a big shocker, but well, definitely important to say that as well. So we'll see how that evolves.
Can Ninjas in Pyjamas get playoffs?
I think mathematically that's also impossible, Perkz, but thank you for also mentioning it. But very interesting in terms of the top 3 in each group. G2, 2nd place and on the Resurgence, and only one series win after Fnatic. You're coming for Fnatic.
We're coming for you.
Week 10, we've said it a million times. Week 10, Saturday, the 12th of August, write it in your calendar. So if the match was right now, how hard would you smash Fnatic?
Pretty hard, honestly.
All right. So then in 2 weeks, still, yeah.
In 2 weeks, maybe the meta changes, so G2 will not adapt.
No.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Do you, if you look at the top 3 across 3 groups, and for Vedius for you as well, who is like the biggest title proponent and who is an outsider chance for the summer title?
I feel like, so personally, I think Fnatic is a little stronger than G2 right now, simply because I think that they've adapted really quickly to the meta, and they've demonstrated that they have not only extremely impressive individuals, but they can also play how the game is supposed to be played right now, and they seem to be really quick at adapting. So any sudden changes, I think they'll pick up pretty quick.
I just have to giggle because we announced they're quick at adapting when they played certain AD carries until 2 weeks ago, but that was the identity of the team.
And it was. And it's also something that they've made pretty vocal, that they just all decided it's time that we kicked stuff together, right? But also the team outside I'm looking at is Splice. I think like they're making really good growth. I feel like their consistency is improving, but they need to now prove it against the top teams as they go up against some pretty tough opponents even tomorrow.
Do you have an outsider out of the top 6? Do you think Misfits might be the one that could make a great run? Is Splice the one we're looking at?
I personally like Splice. I think they could do a good run. I think they could like surprise out of all the other teams. Besides that, I don't really know. I don't think any teams besides Fnatic will be like any contender anyways. So.
It seems like all the other teams have some things to deal with. H2K not able to beat the top teams yet. Unicorns of Love seem to be faltering a bit. Misfits is quite a wild card for me as well. So Perkz might be right. G2 and Fnatic are the teams to look at. And you said about adapting to the meta. I actually think it's quite impressive of Fnatic that they're now on a fantastic record. They have changed their style up when it was starting to falter, even though they didn't do well at Rift Rivals. But they're having kind of the best split in seasons for them. So I think we have to appreciate the fact that with this lineup, they've are making a great run in summer.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to deny the fact that Fnatic are playing extremely well right now. I'm excited to see what they can do moving forward. Saturday, 12th of August, going to be a very hype day, but...
There's no hype in getting 2-0.
But you can see the confidence that exists for G2. And for some of the other teams, like, I'm almost certain Max will have that same level of confidence going up against them tomorrow.
Yeah, Perkz made the bet, and you said we won't drop a game, but I think you can still be happy with what you've done after Rift Rivals because you're winning all the series. Or are you incredibly disappointed that you couldn't send Deficio to
I think we're like 5-0 now in a row or something.
You are.
But I'm kind of disappointed. Like, as I said before, like Mithy really wanted to lose a series because he says, it's really boring if we don't lose a game. Like, you don't feel a rush. So I was like, oh, okay, dude. If you want to lose some games, it's fine. It's fine for me. So yeah. Now I'll have to settle for the series because Mithy is too bored otherwise.
Mithy's too bored. I can see that the jokes are running again. It's kind of like the G2 spirit is back. I think I asked you in the beginning of the split, or was it last split, how big is the chance that G2 is the champion again in summer? And I think then you said like almost 100%. How big is the chance now that G2 are our summer split champions?
Well, now like the chance is a bit lower, but I never cared about chances or odds. not against Var Elite or against SKT. So I'm calling G2 for Summer Champions again.
I like that, especially talking about MSI and SKT.
But what I'm also super curious about is who you think, because we are approaching that point now where like Worlds is a big talking point, and the top 3 teams that represent Worlds at the start, everyone was like, G2 Fnatic UOL, without a doubt, easy peasy. But right now, I'm thinking G2 Fnatic, still looking really convincing. But that third one, I'd love to know what Perkz thinks. Like, who do you think could be that third possible team to go to?
Honestly, it could be like literally anyone from the other 6 or the other 4 teams. I don't have anyone like who could outstand right now. I'm gonna give it to Splyce. I believe in Splyce, yeah.
Yeah, then it would be same as last year, except for H2K would be replaced by Fnatic. If that was the case, and I gotta say for us though, it's cool that it's not 100% sure that G2 is gonna be Summer Split champions. I gotta say, it's a bit more dynamic, which is cool. So unfortunately for you, if it means being in a bit of a slump, but...
Yeah, this might even be the first split that G2 do not get a bye in the playoffs as well.
Actually, that is true.
That's important.
It's gonna be really fun for me to play quarterfinals. If that happens, of course.
Yeah, if that happens, and if you don't win, I'm running this back to you. But well, we'll see what happens. Well, let's take a look at what we've got on the plate for tomorrow. Time for the top teams to show their strength, starting with an important matchup in Group B between H2K and Splyce. Oh, that biceps indeed. And that smile by Jankos, or it is a battle roar because he's going up against Trashy and Splyce, and Misfits versus Fnatic. Oh man, first up, Splyce versus H2K. So H2K's record so far, the split, they haven't been able to beat Fnatic, they haven't been able to beat G2, they haven't been able to beat the Unicorns of Love. So this for me is quite a big test for them, and the same token, it's also a very big test for Splyce. So Perkz, what is your prediction as to how it's gonna go and who's gonna win?
Well, I think it's gonna be a 2-1 for Splyce.
What will make the difference?
I don't know, I think Splyce bot lane and top lane are maybe better than HeaQ, but I'm not sure.
Would you say that that's something that's changed in time? I think especially the top lane could be a toss-up because Odoama has always been really good in that top lane.
Well, Odoama has always been really, really good, and Wunder has been a bit boosted, like in the beginning of Split, or I don't know when it was, like he was just running it down. But I think Wunder is quite good now again, and I think that overall it's just a really close matchup, but... and then H2K, I think, has a stronger mid lane point, but mid lane is not so like 1v1 anymore. It's just about the team, how you play together. So, and Sjokz has always been like a really good team player, and he doesn't care about his lane that much. So so I think maybe Splyce has an advantage. I'm not sure though. We'll see.
Difficult.
I think you're going to see a severe clash in styles where typically Splyce have not been a super proactive early game team, and they've usually been very good at punishing the mistakes that other teams make. And H2K typically are an early game focused team that build a lot of snowball the early leads, and then they're really good at closing things out through good map play, good vision control, and I think it'll be really interesting to see whether or not late game team fighting has improved from H2K, and whether or not they can play the slow early game into the strong late game, and if Splyce can be more proactive in the early game, because it was something Trashy was vocal about in PGL that he wanted to try and improve.
Right, so who are you calling it for?
I, in my head, expect H2K to win 2-1.
2-1. Well, we'll see tomorrow. The other one, Misfits versus Fnatic. Well, obviously, we think that Fnatic is the stronger in this matchup, but maybe the meta has something to say about it, Vedius? Do you think it could go any other way?
I think that if Misfits can stop doing dumb stuff, yes. Because they have this tendency to get really good leads or be playing the game really well, and then they just see something that they don't think about, and they do it anyway.
Baron.
And Baron, tower dive, anything. And it goes horribly wrong. And it just happens too often. It's happened way too often throughout the split. And when we go back to one of our original stories, like Maxwell's here to improve the communication, you're like, why aren't they communicating these sort of plays better? Why is the communication still not what it's supposed to be at week 8 in the summer split?
Perkz, do you see Misfits beating Fnatic tomorrow?
No, not really. I think Fnatic will 2-0 them, unless there is a chance that like Cubs goes for some off-meta picks again, and then maybe like runs it down a little bit, and then like Misfits has a chance. But other than that, I think Fnatic is just stronger on every position, or the team play is also better. Even though Misfits has had some strong early games, I don't think they can pull it off against top teams. So we'll see. We will get all our answers tomorrow. Thank you very much for joining us, Perkz, and good luck the next couple of weeks. Thank you, Vedius, for joining me. And time for us to log off for tonight. Thank you very much, and join us tomorrow for 2 thrilling series in the EU LCS. Have a great night. Bye. keys.
Ace in the hole is going to get blocked. The barrel is going to knock HeaQ even further forward. And that's going to be first blood.
Run. Oh, nice. Oh, baby. Oh, baby.
Nice flush.
And just go for the Nexus. They don't even need to take this fight, but they're going to pad those stats, baby, as Steelback gets a dominating kill to close out this game. Vitality 1-0. It's Nuke Duck who wants to go to the skies this time. Kikis looking for a hunt on, but Steelback is the one who manages to find out Yuki. Kikis goes down for the double kill. Steelback.
Nice.
Fine. I'm fine. I'm dead. Just don't die anymore. Don't die anymore. Go to the beginning. I can go for Vegas. Nice. Go ahead. Oh.
Quadra.
Go kill him.
So it is GG. Viva Vitality.
And they get this one down. That's going to be Baron for NIP. G2 have they been off more than they can chew because on the front line, goodbye, Trick. You are going to drop. He is nard into the wall. Expect trying to turn the fight. He's allowing to knock up their whole. Oh my God.
Oh my god. I can solo. You guys go.
Perkz doing so much in exchange, but Sprattel is going to find the knockup. Members dropping left and right. It is a trade of blows. Trick now on a rampage, but the Nexus drops, and that's going to be game one for G2. Now moving forward, Chains Kaika. It's just there's nothing you can do. My God, Leblanc paired with Zach. I can't even say anything about that.
Rest in peace, Nagne.
Perkz is moving forward. LeBlanc looking to cut through the last bits of resistance on the side of NIP. HeaQ running for his life, but it's just not enough. That is going to be the series. G2 Esports decidedly taking down Ninjas in Pyjamas.